Harley-Davidson introduced the twin-cam engine in 1999. While it had a lot of improvements over its predecessor, the Evolution, it still did have some quirks and require some special maintenance. Like the name says, twin-cam, the engine has two cams. The cams happen to be driven by chains from the factory. On the 99 to 06 models, except the 06 Dyna, the chains are tensioned by this spring-loaded tensioner. On the 07 and later models and the 06 Dyna, they use this much improved hydraulic-style tensioner. Because the tensioner pads are constantly rubbing on the chain, they do wear. As you can see on these, there's quite a bit of wear on this one. This one's actually broken from excessive use. Now, in a typical twin power fashion, we've come up with a good economical solution to replace these parts. Rather than purchase the complete spring-loaded tensioner assembly or the complete hydraulic assembly, we offer the wear pads only. This is part number 482734. This fits the 99 to 06 models. Part number 482735 fits the 07 and later models. And we've got this handy-dandy installation tool, part number 482736. Let's see what it takes to get this job done. We're going to start with the 99 to 06 style. Take your worn tensioner shoe, and with this end of the spring down, go ahead and take a marking pen and mark the side of the shoe that faces up like so. You'll see why in a few minutes. You want to go ahead and lock this in a bench vise so we got a good steady work surface. I'm going to use an electric rotary tool with a mounted stone. Now you can use an air-powered die grinder or even a bench grinder if you're careful. Of course, you want to be sure and wear your safety glasses. So I'm going to go ahead and just grind this peen portion off. Okay, you can see we've got that nice and flat. Now let's take our installation tool and lock it in the vise. This tool will prevent the tensioner assembly from getting tweaked or distorted. Now you'll notice there are two positions on this tool and the dowels are removable. One of them is hollow and one of them is solid. The reason there are two positions has to do with whether we're doing an inner shoe or an outer shoe. Let's go ahead and take the hollow dowel, install it in the tool, install the tensioner assembly on there like so. We're actually going to drive the pin into the hollow dowel. I've got a small punch and a ball peen hammer. Let me get it centered up, and we've removed the old shoe with the marked side up. Now we're going to take the new shoe and orient it the same way. You can notice we marked this side. They're distinctly different. One side is flat and the other side has a relief in it. Let's go ahead and take the same felt tip pen and mark the new shoe, just so we know which way it goes in. Now this is the new retention pin. You can see it's got a head on one side and a relief on the other. Take your pin and just work it into the new shoe and push it in and out a couple of times. They can be a little tight at first. This will help ease assembly later. And once again, reinstall the hollow dowel in the plate. Go ahead and put your tensioner assembly on there. Slide that shoe in place. Take a small punch. Get that lined up. Now while you're holding that lined up, tap that pin through there. Take your punch, like so. Get that good and flush, just like that. And I'm going to remove the hollow dowel, and I'm going to replace it with the solid dowel. I've got a small punch and a ball peen hammer. Let me get it centered up, and take your punch and kind of work it around there. And that's all there is to it. You can see we've got a nicely peened surface there, and that our shoe rotates freely with no binding. Let's see what it takes to tackle the same job on the 07 and later hydraulic style. I removed the tensioner assembly from the cam plate, and you can see I've installed a retention pin in here to keep it together. In this case, I've used a large paper clip but you can use whatever you have handy, a piece of welding wire or what have you. Now that we've got the shoe assembly removed, I'm going to remove the retention pin. Now very carefully, you want to lift that up like so, and what you're going to find is a check valve assembly and a little itty bitty spring. We're going to need some means to remove this piston from the shoe assembly, and I'm going to show you two methods. The first method is using a blind bearing puller tool. Blind bearing puller is kind of an internal expanding tool. You can see it's a collet type. When I tighten that, it gets larger. That's part of our Bike Master blind bearing puller set, part number 151645. This is an 8mm or 5/16 if you will, blind bearing puller assembly. I'm going to put it inside the piston, and just holding it with my fingers, I'm going to tighten that by hand, and presto, pulls that piston right out of there. Now all we have to do is reassemble the hydraulic tensioner assembly using the new shoe. I'm going to go ahead and drop that piston in like so, with the hollow side out. Just push it in with your finger. Take that small spring we saw before, drop it in there. Take your check valve assembly with the pilot end down, push it in there. We'll go ahead, we'll take our tensioner body, push that in by hand, take your retention pin, and that's all there is to it. We can go ahead and reinstall this hydraulic tensioner assembly back on the cam plate. If you don't happen to have access to a blind bearing puller, I'm going to show you a different method where really all you need is a good sharp scribe. Again, go ahead and remove your retention pin, lift off the tensioner assembly, pull out your check valve, your little spring, and go ahead and lock this shoe steady in a vise. And take your sharp scribe, and in the center of the shoe, you're going to poke it and start working it in there. It's going to take a little bit of doing to get that thing poked through that plastic, but you can do it. Push that piston out of there, like so. Go ahead and take a pair of needle nose pliers and very carefully just get a grip on that and pull it out of there. Again, we'll take this shoe, push that piston all the way in, drop your spring in there, check valve assembly with the divot down, tensioner body, push that together, install your retention pin, and go ahead and reassemble that to the cam plate. As you can see, with nothing more than a few simple tools and a little bit of time, you can pull this job off yourself and save yourself a lot of money. I'm James Simonelli, Twin Power Brand Manager. Thanks for watching, and ride safe.